So we've been talking about some of the universal principles that constitute the Korason method for authentic voice and dialogue. We were talking about vibration and how everything is connected through vibration. We live in a sea of frequency. And with our voice, we can create a vibration and send it out into the world. And we can actually make a difference in our surrounding through our words and our intentional utterance. I call the vocal apparatus the uttering organ. And when we combine consciousness with the production of sound, it actually becomes magical. And in the creation stories of many of the world's religions, the Vikings, the Hindus, the Mayans, there is a story about how God or the messenger of God created a sound that began the whole cycle of evolution. So we also do that with our voice, a smaller level, of course, a personal level. The waves go out, sound waves. So think water. Music is carried through water. So another principle, along with the vibrational principle, is the principle of unity. And it's related because through being in this sea of sound and vibration, we all really are connected with one another, whether we know it or not, or whether we want it or not. Deep inside each human being, there's a longing to connect. And because of history and politics and psychology, the limitations and the pain that we have endured as human beings, sometimes we put up walls and armor and we keep ourselves safe, supposedly, but separated from our fellow human beings. But underneath that, there's this longing to connect and to love and be loved. It's very simple. So when we have the consciousness that we are all one, even though each one of us may be a little bit different, but that we take part in the whole, we play instruments in the same orchestra, then it makes it easier for us to consider the people that we're with as fellow travelers, and it's easier to play with them than fight with them. Think of playing instruments in an orchestra. The symphony is beautiful when the instruments are tuned to one another. So with these exercises in the Korason method, we learn how to put up walls when we need to, healthy boundaries, so that we're not pushed around. But at the same time, we learn how to bring some walls down and create openings through our intention and our sound. So it sort of becomes like a magical act. Now, the third principle that we employ is the principle of mindfulness. And most people in the West now are learning what is mindfulness. The concept comes from Buddhism and some of the Eastern spiritual practices, where the attention is turned inside. We watch our experience while we're having the experience. So it's like a parallel experience. There are two things happening where we're feeling sad, for example, and we're noticing that we're feeling sad, which is quite a different thing. In fact, very often, the moment that we become mindful of an inner state, it changes the reality of that inner state. So the part of us, for example, that notices that we're angry is not angry. So the more that we're in the observing, witnessing, mindful part of ourselves, the more regulated we can become and the more free we can become. So in the little articulations or exercises of the Korason method, we make sound and we combine it with intention and the knowledge that we accumulate about which vowels are related to which chakras, how high is the pitch or low, what are the attributes or qualities associated with each chakra or energy center. And then we also use our hands, which actually contain the palm chakras. After the 7 major chakras, there are 49 minor chakras, of which the palms are the most powerful. So we use those to mobilize and transport our intention and the sound and the energy. So mindfulness really helps us to consolidate what we're learning and to observe the differences within our own energy field as we are producing the sound and after we've finished the exercise. So the mindfulness helps us to know how to apply what we're learning. So it's not just a meditation, calming the mind, going to a quiet place. It can be that, but there's a very practical and active aspect of the Korason method that complements perfectly the quiet, passive, and receptive aspect. So we have the yin and the yang balanced and working. So it's a very powerful method. So we have mindfulness, unity, and vibration. Now I'm just going to pass quickly through the sounds of the chakras, and we will be able to go deeper into this in another lesson. Starting at the bottom, we have the base chakra related to the coccyx or the tailbone. And this is related to how we connect with the earth, Mother Earth, and very primal dynamics such as staying alive, survival, making enough money to pay the rent, and sometimes the fears and anxieties that come along with that. But it's being grounded, being centered in the earth. The next one up is the sexual center or the sacral center. It's related to the sacrum in the spine, the sacred meeting place between the head and the bottom of the feet. And the sound for the 2 lower chakras is oo, the vowel oo, and as low as we can get in our vocal range. So something like this. We put our hands gently above this area, and on the out breath, we produce the sound ooh. And then we close our eyes and go inside and just notice what there is to notice after we make the sound. Going up the totem pole, we come to the solar plexus, around the navel center, sometimes it's called, below the diaphragm. The sound is a little bit higher, oh, and it's a round sound. The mouth is round, the stomach is round. Oh, this is the center of emotions and also of personal power. And it also happens to be a place where resides an inner warrior or a spiritual warrior that we can call upon to come to our assistance, to back us up when we need a little extra muscle or protection or an advocate. So again, it's oh. And now going up the totem pole, we come to the heart chakra. And this is the center of the 7 major chakras, just like the sun is the center of the solar system. The sound is ah, ah. So we have oo for the 2 lower chakras, oh for the solar plexus, and ah coming up in tone as we go towards the head. This is the seat of compassion and love, acceptance, inclusion, and connectedness. So the centers below the diaphragm are more the personal effects like hunger and power and sex and those kinds of things, survival, staying alive. Once we go above the diaphragm, we start to come into more of the spiritual chakras, you might say, where we start connecting with our environment and other people. So going up from the heart chakra, we come to the throat. And this is the center for expression, articulation, speech, of course, and in a general way, creativity. Now, right now in the world, there's a tremendous flowering, blossoming of creativity in all kinds of ways, in business, in communications, in technology, in the arts, in music, knowledge. And through the internet, of course, this process is speeded up 1,000-fold. So this is a very important center for this time in history. We pronounce the vocal sound A, sort of EH phonetically, A. We always have to be careful, especially with the throat chakra, to relax the vocal apparatus as we produce the sound. Now, there are two chakras in the head, the so-called third eye, Ajna center, and the crown chakra, which is where we connect with the infinite or the divine. Just as the bottom chakra connects with the physical world, Mother Earth, this we connect with the sky and the heavens. So the sound is the highest pitch of all and is E, and we put our hand up like this, like the letter I in many languages, in Spanish, for example, in Italian. E. So the overtone, these different notes have overtones. The overtone is also much, much higher. So let's together just do a little tour of the chakras, starting with the bottom and going up. The M sound is a sort of a universal connecting sound which helps to disperse, collect, or connect to the chakras. So I'll demonstrate once, starting at the bottom and going right up to the top. U, mo, ma, me, mi. And then I go inside, eyes closed, just gently observing, no judgment, any physical sensations, emotions, memories, images, impulses, thoughts. There are always thoughts going on. So just noticing what's there. Let's do the same thing, only coming down this time, starting with the head chakras. I, me, ma, mo, mo. So practice on your own, and I assure you that these little articulations, as I call them, or Korason method exercises, are very potent. We're only using a few syllables, but within that shorthand, there's a whole long narrative of ideas, of elements, of visualizations, of applications and intentions and vibrations. So it's a very compact language that has very specific effects. Seems a little complicated at first, perhaps, but just practice a few times and it becomes automatic, very simple. So have fun.